Hello everybody, this is Leon. Today we're going to be doing a tutorial on Atmospherics Technician. This tutorial will be assuming you have a pretty good idea of the basis of Space Station 13 gameplay, that you know how to use basic tools, and you know all the basic gameplay mechanics. So let's go over Atmospherics and exactly what this very mysterious room does and kind of how it works. So the big basis of Atmospherics is the fact that we breathe carbon dioxide, and as we breathe, that needs to be scrubbed from the air and sent through somewhere where it can be scrubbed out and fresh oxygen brought back in. Uh, this is true for most of the server, but we also have a few other things we need to scrub out. If we have toxins or nitrous oxide or any other weird gas. So, these purple pipes are the mainstay of Atmospherics. These are the disposal pipes. So, from the right side of the station-ish, is where the disposal pipe is from here, and it comes in through here, and comes also in from over here and up through this pipe, where it comes in from the left side of the station, or so. Comes down through here, and it goes around, and it goes into these little three-way filters. So this one filters nitrogen, this one filters oxygen, this one filters carbon dioxide, toxins or plasma, and then nitrous oxide. Once it gets to here, there shouldn't be any pressure left because we filtered out everything that's there. And if it didn't get filtered out, it's going to come through here and it's going to do a second loop here. And it'll do it again and again until we get all of it removed. So now let's talk about how we resupply. So oxygen is brought from this tank down here, and as is nitrogen, and it's brought up through these blue pipes here. Everything in this area is color coded. So oxygen also comes up through here, and it goes into this thing. This is what gives us our mix between oxygen and nitrogen. So just like planet Earth, we don't want pure oxygen or pure nitrogen. We need oxygen to breathe, but too much oxygen is a bad thing. So we want an 80-20 mix of oxygen and nitrogen. If this was a pure oxygen environment, then fires would burn horribly forever and would be very, very hot, and it's just not a good idea. So we get a good mix, and it comes through these blue pipes and comes down into this air mixing room. This air mixing room then kind of stores excess air, where it's then pumped back out and into this grill here. You can barely see the blue. Follows up through here. Some of it comes up here and out, and this is where air supply goes out. And then some of it takes a turn, comes down through here, and this is where we get an air supply out over here. This area over here in the middle is kind of a mixing and a playing area of sorts. So if we want some of the disposal gas coming in, we can turn on this pump and it'll bring it in. If we want some pure, air mix, we can bring it in through here. If we want some of our custom mix, like I showed you how to do in the previous video, we turn on this pump. And if we want whatever's exporting out of this, we can turn on this pump. And with that, we can do a few things, turn a few valves, you can kind of cool down some gases, that sort of thing. We're not going to be going into too much detail about this. I have a terrible time getting these freezers to actually work like they're supposed to, so I don't mess with this too much. Let's go over some of the gadgets as well. So these are volume pumps. Basically, they pump just as much as they can pump through, they send it through the pipes. These are more pressure pumps. They have a specific output pressure that they try to maintain. These up here, depending on how green they are, is showing you how much pressure is in these pipes. Kind of gives you an idea of what's flowing and what's not. These little valves here allow us to turn from going down this way to over to this way. These do the same thing, but they're manual. These are digital and can be controlled by the AI. So if you're kind of scared of the AI, you might replace these with manual valves. Then you'll have to get a robot to turn them. Each of these holding tanks have their own set of controls. We can click on it to see how much pressure is in the tank, what the temperature is in the tank. We can also show that this is being this thing is injecting nitrogen into the tank, and it's also outputting. The maximum it's outputting at is 4,000 kPa. And this is similar with all of these. We also have these little valves. And for these are all on because it's a part of the mix, but these are off because these are the things we're trying to filter out. And we only really turn them on if we're wanting to do some kind of experimental mix up here in the mixing room. Your job as an Atmos tech is to pretty much keep this room running, which is pretty simple because from server start, the atmospherics room is already pretty well set up. You really don't have to worry about much. This room is self-sufficient. You can make it more efficient if you wanted to, and we'll go into that in a second. But aside from that, it does run on its own. You can just let this do its own thing without any changes at all. Atmos techs aren't the most needed job on the station. As an Atmos tech, most of your job is interfering with these atmospherics air alarms. They're not just alarms, they also control these scrubbers and the pumps in each room. As we can see what the pressure is in the room. We can see the mix of oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and toxins. We can also see what the temperature is. If we use our ID card on these, as I have, we also get a few extra options. We can control the vents, so these are currently on and blowing. We can turn this to siphoning if we wanted to, but that would be kind of silly because these are vent pumps. And we can this is checking the pressure on the outside. This would be checking it in the pipe. We want external, so keep it to external. This is the target we're trying to achieve, so it's going to try to maintain this pressure. Scrubbers are even simpler. These are pretty much saying, hey, we're going to filter these things that are green, and we're not going to filter the things that are blue. The scrub range being normal, this kind of determines how wide of an area that they're scrubbing at. I don't know the details on that, but just leave them at normal most of the time. You can set these from scrubbing to siphoning if you wanted. Siphoning basically just siphons everything in the room out. Has no discrimination between what type of gas it's siphoning. Mode allows you to choose different settings on these vents and scrubbers. Everything in here you can set manually, or you can set by clicking a mode, and they have some preset options for you to quickly click on. The one you use the most is panic siphon. I also use refill. You gotta be careful with refill because with refill you could refill a room too quickly and overpressurize it. System preset allows you to change the thresholds automatically. So for humans, Vox, cold room, server room. Play around with these, you'll kind of get an idea of what they do. The thresholds are basically the thresholds of what it takes to set an alarm off in this area. So anything below 16 and 19 partial pressure for O2, it's way too low. Anything above 135 and 140 is too high. CO2, there's no such thing as too low. Same thing for nitrogen, toxin, and other. But there is such a thing as too high. So there's a few options there. Also, we have pressure. So humans survive best between 81 and 121. If we're getting towards 81, we're wanting to set off a pretty major alarm at that point. Temperature, these are in Kelvin. So yeah, between those, anything more than that, it's too hot. Anything less than that, it's getting too cold. If there's a problem in a room, say it got filled with plasma, come over here, hit this activate panic siphon. It basically goes to mode and hits panic siphon for you. I don't think, yeah, it has to be unlocked for you to do that. We have a few more little gadgets. This is a pipe painter. Allows you to paint the pipes different colors to kind of match the others. We also have these containers up here. There's nitrous oxide, oxygen, nitrogen, and just also air mix. If you're ever filling up a tank, you always want to use oxygen. I don't know exactly why you can't use the air, but if you try, you'll start suffocating, so don't. Up here is the pipe dispenser. This dispenses all the various pipes. It's important to notice we have different pipes. We have regular, supply, scrubbers. Everything in this area is regular pipes. We come up here, we can see there's other pipes too. These blue ones are supply pipes, and these red ones are scrubber pipes. So if you're replacing the ones out here, you need to use the appropriate type of pipe. Type of pipe. Rhymes, I guess. You can also get the various devices like we've been talking about. Most of these you're not going to use scrubbers, air injectors. That's kind of advanced construction type of stuff. But gas pumps, volume pumps, those kind of things you do use a decent amount. Never used either of these before. I believe heat exchange is kind of how the space system out here is. Anyway, aside from that, there's also disposal pipes. We're not going to talk about these, but it's probably a good idea to kind of learn how these work. Not the biggest job in the world. If disposals is broken, it's just going to fling trash in the hallways, and nobody really cares all that much about it. That's pretty much how this works. As I described in another video, actually, as I was saying before, everything's color coded. That's important. So purple is disposals. Green means it's being filtered. Light blue means it's for the air supply. And yellow means it's for the mixing area up here. So, more filtering stuff, I think you give a good idea of how this works. The only thing right here, this is where the mix meets the filtered stuff. So that's how it gets sent into this mixing room. So if you're sending stuff up through here, it's probably important to turn this off so you're not sending excess stuff through disposals when you're not meaning to. Let's talk about how we can make this more efficient. So gases, just like in real life, as they heat up, they expand. As they cool, they contract. So expanded heated gas is going to be super pressurized, and it's going to take a toll on our system. Because we're going to be trying to deal with a lot of pressure, even though it may not be technically that much gas if we were to, cool it down. So there is one way that I know of that we can make the system a little bit better, and that's by employing the space loop. So basically the space loop is using the coolness of space to cool off gases. Normally we hook up a tank here and a tank down here, and we can cool off gases and send them to this tank. That's kind of nice, but I think instead of doing that, we're going to run things through this loop. The downside of doing this is if we do this, we're going to be disconnecting a lot of stuff in here, so most of this stuff over here is going to be useless. Not a big deal for me because I don't use it anyway, but it might be a big deal to somebody else. So you should probably check with your fellow spacemen and make sure that they agree with this before you do it. But I'm going to show you how we can make this just a little bit more efficient. So you can unbolt these and move them around if you didn't know. That makes your life a whole lot more simple. Just rebolt it down and you're good to go. These pumps have to be off before you can remove them. So let's go ahead and turn them both off. Where the red is pointing is where gas is flowing. So currently it's flowing from right to left. Or no, wait. Yes, it's flowing from right to left. We don't want that because I want it to come in, flow through, come out, and then go through disposals. So we want to flip this around. Let's go ahead and unbolt it, and we're also going to unfasten this one as well. So I'm going to flip this, flip pipe, and pick this up, throw it in the trash can. I also don't need this, or yeah, what I'm standing on. None of this we don't need anymore. Let's get rid of it. And is there a way that you can set this up where you don't have to destroy everything? Probably. I'm just not messing with it because this is a whole lot easier to just destroy everything. We also want to remove, stand up here, this pipe and this pipe. Or this volume pump rather. Let's flip it around and throw that in the trash can. Now we need regular pipes because we're in here. So, and I also need a bent pipe. Now depending on what direction you place this, depends on what direction it faces when you set it down. If you play this a lot, you kind of get used to it. I don't, so I don't really know it that well. Okay, let's go and bolt these down. Oops, tried to disassemble the wrong pipe there. So now we're going to be sending things through the space loop, and we need to hook up the other side of it. Oop, forgot to turn that off. Okay, there we go. Now let's unhook these. Flip this one like we did before, as we're wanting to run this in the opposite direction. And I no longer need this connector fitting. We're also going to go ahead and unhook this and this as well. And throw them in the trash. Some new pipes. A bent pipe. Alright, and then one more pipe. Gotta be closer. One more pipe. There we go. So now, when we get our super hot heated gases, they're going to flow through this, down here, through this, up and back out, thus cooling the superheated gases and making it a lot easier on the system. Make sure we go ahead and turn these pumps on. Do you need 2 pumps in a row like this? Probably not. Do you need 2 pumps after this thing? Probably not. But we have it anyway. And let's go ahead and return this. And that's simply how we're going to make this a little bit more efficient. So now whenever we have gas come through here, it's going to be cooled before it's sent through our system, which is going to be a lot better. Let's go ahead and make this look right. So because we were messing with disposals, we want to paint those pipes purple. So let's grab a pipe painter, click on it, turn purple, and let's come through here, paint all these pipes. You can't paint these devices, you'll bash them in the head if you try to use them. You'll notice that if I try to paint this yellow pipe, it turns this nasty color. That's normal. I don't know why it does that. Might be a bug of some sort. Good luck getting anyone to fix that though. Alright. So with that out of the way, we've now slightly made this better at the cost of removing the connections to the freezers as well as the connector ports. Not a big deal if you're the only person on the station, not really messing with it, but kind of a big deal if you need to use any of this. The cases where you're going to need to use this, occasionally maybe science will show up over here saying they need another O2 tank. It could happen, I guess. In that case, you're going to want to send some O2 up to the mixing room, mix it, bring it back through here, and hook them up to these connector ports. However, in our case, we're not going to worry about that, because I've literally never had that happen to me. So your other job as an Atmos tech is to deal with toxin spills, and we also have to deal with breaches. So whenever there's a breach, you're usually the one that's repairing the pipes. These things can help you in this situation. There's a few more located throughout the station. You'll have to learn their locations on your own. The space heater will heat up the area, which is good if you have a leak to space, because that area is going to be very cold. The air pumps pump air into a room, obviously, and the scrubbers scrub the area. So if you have toxins, you want to turn on your scrubber and begin to scrub the stuff from the room. This computer up here will allow you to see the alerts. If something bad is to happen, it'll set off an air alarm, and the AI will start yelling at you, telling you to fix it. Up here, we have a few extra computers. We have the waste monitor. So mixed air in, that just kind of gives you an idea of some of the stuff going on. Mixed air out. Our distribution loop is running. We don't have any data on the waste loop for some reason. No alarms. You can look at various cameras with this. This allows us to see where all of the air alarms are. We can also apparently access them. That's interesting. Never messed with that before. Or if you swipe the computer. I don't think you can change anything from here. It's probably a good thing. Oh god. Okay, mistakes were made. Okay, there we go. You have to be careful with these computers sometimes. They like to freak out on you. These are the various tanks. Gas mix kind of lets you know what's going on. And also got a few things. We've got stuff for fighting fires. That's the other kind of job of atmospherics, is you fight fires. The hard suits down here are actually completely fire resistant, so you can be on fire in a high pressure area and still be able to live, which is fairly important. I think I've taught you pretty much everything there is to know about atmospherics. This area honestly isn't the funnest job in the world. Most of the time you just kind of play with the pipes and sit around, fiddle yourself. Not a lot going on here. It's usually the first place that bad guys come to cause havoc on the station, especially a rogue AI. Rogue AI is the biggest thing you have to watch out for here, because rogue AIs just love flooding the station with plasma. So I'm going to show you how to flood a station with plasma, so you know how to stop it. So to flood a station with plasma, essentially you're wanting to get plasma out of this tank, into this mixing tank, and into the main loop, and you're also going to want to turn off any extra air coming in through this loop. So let me show you what would happen. I hate this thing. By the way, if you have issues with this, all you gotta do is close this menu and you can actually work on it. It's a really annoying bug. These are all AI controllable. I believe even these pumps are, these computers, everything. The AI can do all of this on its own, as far as I'm aware, which is very scary. Kind of makes you want to put in manual valves in through here. So as a safety thing, if you wanted to come in here, put a manual valve, not a bad idea. So normally you want oxygen and plasma to burn. In our case, most of these rooms on the station already have oxygen, so we're probably not going to mess with that. But some AI might. You never know. Let's turn this off. Turn this on. 4500. Starts to pump the plasma up and into here. Turn this valve on, and we start pumping it into this room, the mixing room. So now that's going to slowly start filling up with plasma. Let's turn off the air supply, so that way we're not diluting this at all. So if we turn this off, that pretty much stops anything coming in here. And for good measure, we're going to turn off this gas mixer as well. So essentially we have no oxygen coming through these pipes anymore, and you'll actually see this starts to decrease. And looking at 86 kPa and increasing ever so slightly. So now we want to kill everybody. It's pretty simple. This is where it's pumping out at. So we want to turn this off so it doesn't go to the filter immediately. Off. There we go. We want to flip this valve and we want to turn this on. 4500. And now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, now I've done all this. The station is going to start filling with plasma and everyone's going to start dying and it's great. Yeah, that's not what's going to happen. Because these are maintaining pressure. They're not trying to pump in as much stuff as they can. So it might happen eventually, but it's going to take a while. So this is pretty much what's going to happen if somebody's going to want to start flooding the station with plasma. You kind of know what to look out for. I've kind of told you something you probably should have figured out on your own. But, you know, that's the fun of a tutorial. Let's show you how devastating this can actually be. Let's put on a suit. Oh, and don't think about trying to do any of this and getting away with it. The admins can see that you've messed with these. They'll find out pretty quickly. That up there. Let's attach the boots. There we go. Face mask. And so like I said, these are fireproof, which is kind of nice. So the part that everybody tends to forget about when trying to flood the station with plasma is the very simple fact that these pumps need to want to pump and fill this area with plasma. It's kind of the hard part. Let's go ahead and grab some matches, just to, you know, make a point. So I'm going to show you what a room flooded with plasma would be like. I come up here. This is kind of a test room of sorts. I'm not really sure what the purpose of this room is, but we're going to flood it with plasma, so that's its purpose today. So we come onto here, open this up, and right now we're not really doing anything, right? It's not filling this area with plasma. That's not what we want. We want a lot of plasma in here. So let's set the vents to start blowing, which they already are. Set this as high as she'll go, which I think is around 1000 kPa. And she starts trying to match that pressure, thus pumping out as much plasma as she's physically capable of. Let's also make sure these scrubbers aren't on and cannot scrub. You see the pressure is starting to move these. And this room begins to fill with plasma. Oh boy. So now anybody without a hard suit is going to be in a world of hurt. In a situation like this, you would normally want to come in here, hit activate panic siphon, try to get as much of the plasma out as you can. But in our case, we're just kind of doing this to cause some havoc. So, in an attempt to also reiterate the power of expanding gases, we're going to leave this open while I light this match and burn myself half to death. And you're going to see that this pressure just starts to jump exponentially. It's crazy. Right now it's slowly increasing. What happens if we light a match? So now I'm on fire, and this is starting to rise really quickly. Let's go ahead and set this room on fire a little bit better. Put on our mag boots. So 1300, 1600, 2000. You see how quickly this is expanding? This room is filling with plasma, getting hotter and hotter. Eventually it starts to break the walls even. These reinforced walls are a lot harder to breach, so those will be the last to go. But it's breaching all the walls, everything's opening up. Everything kind of starts to die down pretty quickly. You might ask why it died down so quickly. Simply put, Everything's still on. It's still trying to pump plasma in here, but we're starting to run out of oxygen, and I believe the plasma in this room is already burned up. So it will eventually refill, but it'll take a while. Turn off the mag boots. That overpressure is starting to break all the glass out here. That's normal. So now you've managed to catch yourself on fire. Luckily, in my case, I have a hard suit that protects me against fire. I don't know if the engineering hard suits do that. How do I put myself out? You can get yourself a fire extinguisher and spray yourself out, or if you click this resist button, it'll stop, drop, and roll. And it may take a couple of tries. Usually you don't go out on the first try. Sometimes it takes 3, maybe 4 tries. Officer Beepski, send help. Alright, so we managed to put the fire out on ourselves. That's starting to burn again because it's starting to fill up with plasma for a third time. And we're starting to see just how much havoc this can really cause. That essentially does it for the atmospherics tutorial today. Hopefully you've learned quite a bit. I've taught you pretty much everything that I know. There's a good chance some of you may disagree with doing the space loop thing. That's okay. I totally agree with you. Most of the time, if I'm playing Atmos Tech, I leave this area just pretty much alone. Don't even bother with it. It's just not worth it. Yeah, as I said, your job is pretty much just trying to make this efficient if you can, and if you can't, those monitors just turned off because we don't have any power. Because we don't have any engine nerds. You can set up a turbine. That video was posted before. Check that out. That uses the gas mixing room to burn stuff so you can provide power to the station. Thank you guys once again very much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you're looking for maybe a different kind of tutorial, gotten a suggestion, throw it in there as well. Thank you guys very much for watching, and have a nice day.